Yo guys, and welcome to Project Aquatic stage? Project Resurrection? Revival? Old stages? I don't know. Working on a name. Anyway, welcome to a bit of an idea I've been having for an extremely long time now. So, many of you will probably recognize this adventure right here. This adventure I'd made back in... oh god, I'm not even sure when I made it actually. I made this adventure 8 years ago, as you can see, in 2010. And in 7 years ago, I decided to make a bit of a trailer, having a bit of fun with it, with the idea of having your very own aquatic stage. And as you can see, I really liked mucking around and, being all sneaky and stuff, and I feel really bad about that. But these are the kind of things I did when I was younger. I like to really try and think of new ideas, and mainly to try and get a couple of features that used to be in Spore back in one way or another. When I'd seen another user called Zakabum was able to utilize invisible limbs and create creatures that had the effect, the animation of swimming, this inspired me to create this adventure right here. And back in the day, as far as I can recall, this was a pretty big deal. A lot of people were really amazed by this. And, especially by the popularity on YouTube, this is really awesome. Now, I've always wanted to go back to this and do more. Especially as recently I've been, for the last couple of years now, I've really been wanting to make more adventures, but I've not had the inspiration or the motivation. I need to do planning. I can't just crack on and make adventures like I used to when I was younger. I just lack that creativity nowadays. So, like I said, there is that, and also I've been wanting to make a new aquatic stage for a very, very long time, because I have had more ideas since doing this. I liked what I did here, of course, but it was all a bit simple. It was a bit basic. It was the foundation for which a really awesome idea could grow from. Now, I had that awesome idea, I didn't know how to actually fulfill it. So, recently, I decided to get off my butt and get started. And the biggest thing was inspiration. Now, as for inspiration, I decided to ask, first of all, my Discord server, and then the YouTube community page. I asked you guys, I asked all of you, if there was an aquatic stage in Spore, what would you like to see? I got some really incredible responses, and it is just flooded my mind of ideas with potential, with little features here and there that we actually probably could, recreate within Galactic Adventures. And I'll be aiming to do this without mods. The goal, emphasis on the word goal here, I may not reach it, but what I would like to do is create a brand new aquatic stage adventure. Again, emphasis on the word stage. I want it to feel like an actual gameplay stage between cell stage and creature stage. So that means, like trying to do objectives, all that kind of stuff, not quite the whole storyboard thing that I did last time. And so, like I said, I asked a question to you guys, and you gave me some really cool ideas. Now, as you can see here, this is my little notes list so far. Originally, for this YouTube series here, the original goal was to, introduce the idea, as I am right now, jump straight in, and we'll create the adventure together. Or, not sure if it will necessarily be together, it depends on how quickly I record things. Maybe if you guys are caught up to the latest episode, then maybe I can take on ideas and push them forward. Either way, I'd like to document it, that's the biggest thing. I want to document this idea. And the original goal, like I said, was to just get started. But then I reached a point in which I couldn't really think of what more to do. I started really having to stop and think about things. And that's where I thought, you know what? I've just been saying about how when it comes to these adventures, I want to plan it, or I need to plan it. Why leave the planning out of this little documentary thing series, So, I asked Discord. Some of the ideas I'd gotten, as you guys can see here, were things like, let me see, having creatures that can, pop out of the water, or aggressive, flying carnivores, like birds that will go into the water. As you can see, I've got an idea there to reenact that by using air vehicles. Maybe some creatures on the land. There was a lot of feedback for having the sea monster, whether it's from Discord or from YouTube. That's been a very consistent theme that a lot of you have wanted, was for the sea monster to, make an appearance in some way. Whether it's an epic, it's a boss, maybe it's something bigger than the sea monster, maybe it has its own epic out there. Don't know just yet, because we're still in the planning phases. We've got all these various resources from site, which have been extremely helpful. All of these screenshots as well. I'll also be trying to utilize abandoned beta product, such as, if I can find it here, where is it? Such as this here as an example, if I go ahead and bring up that page. These are some abandoned ideas of the Willow Saw back, in Spore's Aquatic stage or the earlier, the early stages. And these are the kind of things I want to see if I can try and, insert into this somehow. Another idea or another example, got a beta Spore fauna. Again, massive credit to Sai. These are all like various models that were meant to be in the aquatic stage. This one here, the Willow Saw, that we can all recognize, very, very clearly. But these other ones here as well, and particularly this little jellyfish creature here. I don't know how, but I really would like to try and just get these in the game somehow. Here's another example of this jellyfish creature here. Somehow, that'll be in the game. Like, this is another thing, of course. When I made this aquatic stage, a lot of the creatures, like, they look alien. They were entirely ripped off of Zach Bum. Like, I gave him credit, of course, but, he made these creatures. And as much as I really like them, when it comes to the aquatic stage and underwater environment, I feel like we can really get creative here. I think the grand variety of creatures I have here is various fish, a couple of epic fish, a couple of little crab-like creatures. We have like a bit of a snaky creature somewhere around here. We've got like one squiddish, what on earth is going on over there? We have like one squiddish kind of creature somewhere, one big snake thing, and yeah, that was about it really. Like, the variety just could have been so much better. And I've also had other ideas, such as actually making the creatures evolve along the stage while the player, while this little fishy guy here, deciding whether or not it'll be a fish or something else. Actually have the creatures themselves evolve around you that way, just like in the creature stage, just like in the cell stage. There's always a constant feeling that the world around you is alive, it's interacting, it's wandering, it's fighting, eating, etc. And more importantly, evolving. Since at the end of the day, that is what Spore is about, evolution. And, making penis creatures, which I'm going to be skipping here. And by the way, that was a thing that one of you had said. Giant, what was it again? 12-meter long penis whales. I should have seen that coming. I really should have seen that coming. Anyway, so I think I've kind of like hammered on long enough now about the whole general ideas. We can go over all of this in absolute detail. But again, this being the planning video, the introduction to the idea to the series, what I really wanted to do is not only show you show you guys a thing is happening, but also I want to go over some of the comments as well. So I've already replied to a couple of these, as you guys can see here. This person in particular has some really awesome ideas. The idea that certain parts will be dynamic and actually change, because personally, I'm a little bit bored of the whole, 4 damage abilities, 4 social abilities, a couple of utility. It would have been really cool to see various parts, like say the speed traits converted to swimming, or like underwater breathing, or that kind of stuff. Now, sadly, I personally cannot replicate these ideas because I will be doing things within the confines of Galactic Adventures, so I can implement, what I plan on doing is implementing a lot of illusions, a lot of, tricks and things to give the idea, to give the thought or the impression that this is happening. But when it comes to functional stats, I can't do that. I have ideas. I may be able to, again, give the illusion of these kind of things. But because in Galactic Adventures you only have the one captain, you cannot change the captain over the course of this single adventure. And I plan on this being like one large single adventure. I can't do that. But I love the ideas, I really did. Another one here is, again, what I entirely agree with. I'm not sure if I could do this in a single adventure. If I was to ever turn it into a series, then possibly, potentially. What Mr. New Vegas here had said was about, choice, which, again, was a thing that I really wanted when I first heard about this stage. Choice, the ability to go down a terrestrial route, purely aquatic, or even amphibious. Imagine that. Imagine being an amphibious species. You're going to have your bases and your cities on both, the ocean and the land. But mainly, I'm imagining the vehicles in that kind of scenario. Would these vehicles be hybridized? Could air vehicles plunge and turn into submarines, all that kind of stuff? What would the buildings look like? Would it be any transitional buildings, perhaps like a long bridge or whatever? I think in Spore, a lot of that wouldn't necessarily be possible. But the Galactic Adventures, you know, where you are making the setting, I don't know, it's quite inspiring. It's a really inspiring idea. So that's what we got so far. Like I said, I've responded to a couple of these, but we'd gotten, here we go, we'd gotten a ton more. The ability to place coral on the back of the creature. So that would be a really cool thing. Like I said, I can't really, I cannot implement or recreate any sort of editor for the creature. The captain can only remain, you know, the single creature species. But I like the idea of other creatures out there having coral. Perhaps coral can be a version of camouflage or stealth. Perhaps, you know, in GA, what I can do actually is, rather than, what I could potentially do is have like little bits of coral plants around, but these coral plants will actually be the, let me show you guys. This coral plant could actually be a gameplay object that is the power-up armor, which basically is a shield, damage reduction. Imagine this, you find this piece of coral, you pick it up or you walk over and absorb it, whatever, and I'll give you a damage reduction, i.e. you are shielded, i.e. you are camouflaged. These are the kind of things I'm thinking of doing. Similar things as well, like health power-ups could be food, and food like meat food or herbivore, weed, whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking of, I'm actually thinking about doing a, what was it? A movement speed power-up, which will be hidden among like a kelp bed or seaweed, like a little seaweed forest. The idea there is that, let's say you're getting chased by a great big epic, or any other carnivorous creature, maybe a shark. The idea here is that if you swim through the kelp forest, or the seaweed forest, you know, you get a movement speed buff, you'd escape, you know, you've escaped into the forest, the carnivore can't find you anymore. Little ideas like that. I'd like to see more of a bigger cell stage, but fish and not bones or parts, but little chests. I love the idea of harpoons and organic weapons like Blastoise cannons and trident. That's a good point, I really like that. Tridents in my, well actually no, he said organic weapons. Okay then, so that's a really interesting point. I never thought about that. It's like Blastoise cannons. That wouldn't be too different to these spitting parts in the cell stage. Maybe instead of spitting, like leaving a toxic field, what it could probably do instead is a knockback. In fact, it could just be like the knockback ability from Sipho. That'd be really, really cool. Like just prevent a knockback, maybe a daze and a slow, maybe even a stun, like the charge ability. I like that a lot. And also like bosses as well. I love the idea of bosses, especially because, and by the way, Nate, thank you, that's really sweet, thank you very much. The idea of bosses, a couple of guys mentioned, so you want like the epic, the sea monster to be like a boss in the ocean. One of you, I can't remember if it was here in the comments or if it was on Discord, one person mentioned that with how big the ocean is and how much larger creatures can be, say you compare the blue whale to the Argentinosaurus. The blue whale is significantly larger because the ocean can support larger creatures. So hyper epics could very well be a thing. Like I said, I'm personally imagining what if the sea monster had its own predators. Because in the ocean, things can get really big. And after all, this is Spore. This is not, like, of course, it's based on evolution, but it's hardly accurate, isn't it? So I like the idea of there being, like, really legitimately massive epics, like proper monsters. Maybe even very small mega builds involved. I want to have to go up and down the water, not just being stuck to the bottom. Yes, that right there, Nito Gore, that is the biggest and main reason why I've been wanting to remake this stage for the longest time. Exactly as Nita there had said, you're stuck to the bottom of the ocean. I almost wonder if she's referring to my aquatic stage here. But in my playthrough, you're stuck to the bottom. You can't do anything. At best, you can, you know, crawl up the cliffs and, you know, go to like a little bit of a faux water beach area, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, that's it. That's the biggest reason I've been wanting to remake the aquatic stage, is to introduce an idea I've had for an extremely long time, to be able to move up and down in the water. In fact, thanks to the modding community, I now have two ways of doing this. The first one, if I go ahead and show you guys here, all the way over here, you can see all these invisible jump pads. I don't actually remember what this is here for. Oh, I see, actually. Right, I can demonstrate it perfectly. So, you see all these jump pads, they're all upside down. The fact that they're jump pads does not matter, but they're there, they exist, but they are invisible. What that means is that you can, you know, walk on them, and it looks like you are swimming, you know, higher up in the air, or higher up in the water in this case. So that's the thing. That's a really cool thing. That's an idea I've been wanting to grow upon for a very, very long time. In fact, I actually have really old videos of this just littered around on YouTube. Sadly, long since abandoned, hence why, you know, we're here. So that's the thing. There's also a very interesting alternative that was discovered, I'm not sure if it was discovered or implemented, but by Sai, a really, really great modder of the community. Can I demonstrate it right now, actually? If I go into my Discord, let's go into Spore for a sec, I should have a command that will basically, quite literally, change gravity in the game. In fact, here we go, I found it here. So, this did require tweaking of my files and such, but if I input this command here, in fact, that may have been a bit premature. If I do it again here, now you guys can see that the gravity is significantly reduced. Actually, I don't think that worked. How was it I did it again? Oh, I can't quite remember. Okay, well, I'll investigate this properly. Basically, there is a command in which will make the gravity in the game very, very different. And what I can do is lower the gravity. That way, once again, you know, right now, as you see, I'm falling back down to the land. What I can do is have you pretty much just be at a very constant level, just floating indefinitely. Maybe even ascending upwards. It's definitely possible. So I've got two options in terms of how to create a underwater environment in which you are not simply crawling on the seabed. Maybe there could be a seafloor of some sort. Seagrass and other stuff can grow on it, also things like corals. Yes, Campsol, I will absolutely be doing that. Nightshade, yes, just yes. I'd find it interesting if, as well as the bones, you find parts inside the shells. The herbivores can eat the seaweed too, planning on it. And some types of hands can have the dig ability. I might be able to do that, actually. That would be interesting. I mean, you can potentially find sunken alien ships or ruins with civilized creatures before a flood of sorts. And instead of geysers, or geyser, get that stupid word, there's salt currents that push you back. I like all of that, actually. This idea here, the salt currents, actually will fulfill an issue I have. So one idea that I did have, so the whole, you know, having the invisible floor that we can swim higher, what I'd really need is an indication of where it is. A subtle indication, but one nonetheless that players can recognise as a pattern and will tell them, hey, if you go here or around this area, you can swim higher. So one thing I was thinking about doing was having bits of coral, you know, trees perhaps. Like, say this tree here, for example. It's got two different heights there. It's got this height here, one here. What I'd like to have is that these indicate that in a general vicinity, you can swim at different levels. So the highest point would mean that you can swim really high up somehow. This point here would mean that you can swim at this level. Just a very subtle thing to help recognise, you know, the environment and, you know, the way that you can travel. With Nightshade's idea here of salt currents that push you back, I'm not sure about the pushing back part, I'll have to think about that. But as an alternative to the spice geysers, you can then have it so that it pushes you upwards, and that is what then, you know, allows you to get on that higher plane of travelling. You know, again, another idea. The digging one is really cool. I actually need to think about that, how I could actually do that. Maybe you can dig up nests. You know, nests eat some other eggs like you can in the creature stage, but you actually have to find them first. Maybe, I don't know, valuable things that you can find, like DNA points, like maybe there's a cluster of them underground, or I don't know. Let's think about that though. I really, really like that. And again, little subtleties that will point you in a direction of where to find them, and therefore you know, okay, that's a thing. I'll keep on finding that particular thing then, and I can progress faster. It's definitely not a bad idea. I'd like to see how this incorporates epics. Also, it can be made so that there are multiple levels of the sea. The deeper you go, the more epics you find. That I like. My initial planning is to have at least 3 biomes. The shallows, the coral forest, and the deep sea. I think all 3 speak for themselves. And the deep sea will of course be like a very Subnautica-esque kind of environment, where it's very deep, very dangerous. Maybe really dark if I can achieve that. I'm not sure yet. Again, it's going to be one single adventure, so I have to squeeze all this into one environment. but that is a plan I would like to somehow fulfill. Boats occasionally move on the surface, similar to the spacecraft in the animal stage. That's a good one, I like that. I did not think about that. Right, okay. So I can achieve that by, in some areas, like perhaps in the shallows, I'll have the boats roaming around, and in the coral forest, I can have like little bird-like things. Those will obviously both be vehicles, but I'll, again, given the illusion here, the impression is bird things up above, and if you get too close to them, they'll shoot you down, i.e. they'll come hunt you. You know, all that kind of stuff. I like that. I do like that a lot, the whole boat idea. That would also support treasure and ruins and such. I like the ability to either stay mostly aquatic or go onto land. Ian, don't we all, mate? Don't we all? I like that. A land version of the sea monster would be very interesting. Yes, I like that. Either something like a fishing animal on the shore, or something that to eat you if you crawl up onto the land. 100%. That would probably be a necessity, I reckon, to keep the player in the water, you know, to show that they're not ready to evolve on land yet. There'll have to be like little obstacles or death zones, if you will, that prevents the player from going up on the land because they're not ready. They're simply not evolved enough to go up there. So having some kind of large creature there ready to eat you is perfect. And also, obviously, air versus water breathing, the ability to suffocate. That's not a thing I can implement in this idea, but I do agree that'd be a really, really good one. An ultra rare kraken creature which causes glitches with whatever it interacts with. That's... I'm not sure if that's serious, but that is so what would happen. I completely agree with that. Right, Taco Titan. I'd like to see emphasis on evolving bones. Also needing bioluminescence to go into the deep ocean, planning on it. Camouflage, both for hunting and hiding, planning on it. Different types of propulsion, such as tail flippers and blowholes. That'd be really cool. I actually saw that idea mentioned earlier above as well, like aerodynamics and how the body should affect your ability to travel. Again, these things are really, really awesome. I'm not sure if I could do that myself. What I could potentially do is, you know, as we have all these floating creatures here, a lot of them are not going to have any movement speed stats at all. What I could... it's going to be vanilla though, that's the thing. What I could maybe do is kind of like tweak it so that the longer, thinner creatures have a higher movement speed stat, and the, you know, the fatter, shorter ones are a bit more slower. I'm not sure if I can do that, but I definitely would like to try. That way it just gives, you know, a very subtle sense of aerodynamics in the game. A variety of teeth, such as teeth that cause bleed damage or stronger bites that bleed damage, that'd be really cool. Air breathers are more powerful, but air breathers are more powerful, but obviously need to breathe on a timer and will rapidly lose health to represent drowning. I won't be able to do that, but I love the idea. More ways to attack than the creature stage. Yes, yes, please. Such as maybe impaling with the trident ability earlier. Such as the potential knockback of the Blastoise cannons, those kind of things. And finally, the ability to evolve back into the water once on the land. Yes. Well, I mean, I guess in my little playthrough here, once you finish the adventure, so there isn't really anything after that. But I would still like the idea. If I was to ever create a series of these adventures, then we can implement that somehow in the future. And also a huge variety of heads, yes. Advanced camouflage, I'd like to see my creature turn into a fake rock or a fake coral to lure praise. That is really, really cool. I like that a lot. Imagine like you're changing the colours of yourself, or basically an octopus. You could basically be an octopus. That'd be awesome. Again, I can't... can I do that? I have to think about that. I may have an idea of how I can do that. Can that be aquatic stage specific abilities, that is, if we can come up with sensible abilities in any way? Another idea I have in mind is semi-aquatic creatures. You can choose to either be entirely aquatic creature or semi-aquatic creature that can go on the land if desired in order to find food, shelter, and despite the dangers of the sea. With certain parts, you can either breathe through gills or go up to the surface and breathe air. Alternatively, you can do both at the same time. That would be really, really cool. Again, another kind of thing that I wouldn't be able to implement, but I still love the idea. I also love the idea of pressure resistance. Can't do that, but that would be awesome. Like, that would be extremely cool. I probably will not be encountering or including that in my little demonstration because I'd like the player to be able to explore the deeper ocean, and if pressure were a thing, they couldn't. So it wouldn't work for what I have in mind, But that would be a really awesome just level of complexity. Maybe you have, instead of armor parts, maybe you have resistance parts. Or hell, actually, maybe the armor part has a like an additional stat, which is, you know, like resistance, you know, make yourself stronger, harder, whatever. Adaptations for temperature or depth. Again, same thing, I'd love to do it, but I don't think I can, especially not in my little demonstration here. I know the physiology for a surface or freshwater animal is far, far different from a deep sea creature in real life. I've heard of deep sea animals tending to mush upon reaching the surface thanks to a lack of extreme pressure. Yeah, I've heard about that as well, actually. It's a fascinating thing, very creepy. But I do like that. Can't implement it, but I really like it. If we go to see lava coming out of the deepest parts of the oceans, of the planet's oceans, or discover sunken spaceships. It ought to be interesting to see though a cave you could swim into, yes. Also, that's something I've always dreamt about that the creature stage could have. I agree, William. I agree. I wish there was the ability to go into caves, burrows, climbing trees, all that kind of stuff in the creature stage. I wish it just wasn't so much walking on land. It's a bit boring, isn't it? But when it comes to the whole cave ideas, that is something I 100% plan on doing in some way or another. Tunnels as well, including coral tunnels, kind of like I get in Subnautica. As for the ocean, as for the lava idea, I really like that. I'm not sure how I would do it, but I would like to introduce lava in some way. The idea I have with the aquatic stage is that it is still very, in fact I worded it somewhere, where was it? The idea I had is, it's a hybridized cell and creature stages. The cell stage is chaotic and relies on eating. The creature stage is slower and relies on interacting with species. So like in the cell stage, everything is really, really chaotic. There's a lot going on. There's all the little meteor fragments, all that kind of stuff. My idea of the aquatic stage was that the planet itself was still evolving, maybe like tectonic, you know, movements, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just imagined that things would be not quite as peaceful and calm as the creature stage planet is. You know, I kind of like, there's one meteor event, that's it, nothing happens. I like the idea of the environment doing stuff as well, such as having dangerous areas with lava. Do you know the giant monster that eats you when you go to the ocean? He could be a boss stronger than the epics. Yeah, that would be really cool. The ocean can be very colourful with strange creatures just like Subnautica. That'd definitely be my intention. I'd love to have different biomes and just have a variety of things going on. I'd love to see a more complex ecosystem. Planning on it? It's not the simple, you made one species instinct, well done. I'd like to see a more dependable. I'd like it to be more dependable. Like, say, Predator X has food ABC. If 2 or 3 of them die, the Predator dies as well. It'd be a cool way to show that actions have consequences and just be fun to see having more of an impact on the environment. I like that. I really like that, like the whole food chain thing. Like, that is such a critical thing, especially in a game that is revolved around evolution. It's actually very surprising, now that you mentioned it, Bizzle. It's very surprising that the food chain wasn't thought about, despite how, you know, the entire goal of the cell and the creature stage was to be at the top of the food chain. It's odd how that was never really considered. That being said, I am not sure if I can implement that, but it's definitely something I would like to think about. Maybe big creatures that you have to avoid until you're strong enough to beat them. I'll have to think about a way for that. I'd like that. I'd definitely have to think of a way that could be implemented. A sustainable environment at the top and the bottom of the food chain, and you have to work your way up one. I like that. I could probably like have a bit of an idea as to do that. It would be very much kill this, then kill this, then kill this. But I could probably do something like that. And this post here is why I wanted to read this on stream. This is why I wanted to read it on stream. Completely no limits in size. Yes, I agree. Well, a very small limit, like the size of a fully sized epic and adventure editor. Yeah, I agree with that. You can see herds of giant whale-like creatures swim by you peacefully, and it will add a lot of atmosphere into the game. Depth. With the extremely deep parts of the ocean, you are of course affected by the pressure. You can add some parts that allows you to go deeper and eventually the bottom. And if creatures from those parts deep parts of the ocean are chasing you to the surface, they'll just retreat. Now that I think about it, all this idea of depth. Another idea was mentioned earlier that you could find parts in, say, shells or whatever. Maybe, you know, in the little burrows that we can dig up. Maybe if you collect a certain amount of these parts, the next objective is, you know, hey, you have all these parts, you are stronger, more resistant, maybe now you can go into the depth. Because in my little playthrough, I do plan on having them go into the depth anyway. So now, you know, if I do that, you know, you collect all these different pieces, maybe collect like various crab shells or exoskeleton pieces, you know, it kind of like gives you the idea, the sense that, hey, I have all these pieces, I have evolved, now I can go back down into the deep. That'd potentially work. Limited animation. You can have many types of tails or limited different animations. You can be a salamander or a lizard with a classic walking animation, but a new swim animation. I kind of like how a real salamander swims. That would be awesome. These limbs should be very similar to both the jet and the fins in the south stage. Ooh. Yeah, that'd be very awesome. I probably can't do it again, but I'd like that. You could be a fish or a shark with a tail swimming left to the right and be very fast and mobile. The style should be very similar to the fins in the south stage. You can be a dolphin or a whale, the tails swishing vertically slowly or quickly depending on your size. This style should be very similar to the jets in the south stage. You could be a squid or an octopus with tentacles. These tentacles should all have different uses, such as a mobile tentacle being similar to the tail of a south stage, a thruster tentacle being similar to the jets in the south stage, a grapple tentacle with little hooks to grab onto the prey and bring them to your mouth to devour them. That is really unique. Oh, I want that. I really, really want that. You could be an eel with a large, thick tail to swim around quickly. This tail should be very similar to the tail in the south stage. Or have no limbs at all and making you a snail or a jellyfish of some sort. I really like the idea of varying tentacles. That's awesome. I like that a lot. Creatures. Anything from fish to whale would be great. It should have heavy inspiration of modern day animals or prehistoric creatures though. I agree. Anything from fish to whale, including other things like cephalopods, like crustaceans, you know, all those kind of things as well. I'd really like that, just more variety as opposed to, you know, very simplistic fish/mammal things. Areas. Coasts, open ocean. Oh, open ocean. That's a very simple yet very effective idea. Oh, I know how to do that. That'd be awesome. Coasts, open ocean. Depths, kelp forest is basically it. No need for crazy alien lava zones. We'd have a little bit of a lava zone, but I agree though. Nothing like really over the top. I do agree with that. Abilities. As an aquatic creature, I'd expect things such as a very quick charge lunge, grabbing onto prey, perhaps death rolling it, or a bleed bite, making your prey bleed out until it dies. I love the lunge idea and the death roll. Oh, that'd be so cool. But if I were able to be a little bit more creative, I'll think of things such as echolocation. Imagine. Alright, imagine this, guys. Echolocation. You toggle this ability, toggle it like you would stealthing or sprinting. Your vision goes black like it does as if you took your eyes off your creature, but then you see things appear like little circles, like maybe these circles will get bigger or smaller depending on, you know, the distance of the creature. Maybe if you have like a really high level echolocation, not only will it increase your range, but maybe these little circles will give colours. Like, you know, green if it's friendly, red if it's aggressive, yellow if it's scared, or white if it's neutral. I can't do that, but I love the idea. Scent, yeah, again, you probably do the same thing with scent as well, like that little radial idea. Shred, when in combat, you just shred the living crap out of the enemy, taking off tons of health. And that would be wicked, like proper critical blows. Body regeneration, like an axolotl, but just health with the speed of nest regeneration. Ah, I like that. Punch. Wannabe mantis shrimps basically just a crap ton of damage and reaches out pretty far because of the boiling water. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Venom with a venomous bite. It gives out a cloud of poison when you bite, dealing high damage. That'd be like a ranged spit ability, since a spit is a poison. And in the cell stage, it is a lingering effect. So we had the ranged one, we had the AoE one. It'd be cool if there was a melee one that is a venomous bite. I'd like that. Might be going a little bit overboard, but I'm still legit ranting why... Oh yeah, still ranting why the Aquatic stage never came to exist. The animation is all its reason, but developers might have just been a little bit lazy on the animations because they bug out a lot, and I mean a lot. All in all, this is my opinion of what it should contain. I'm Dutch, so... Oh, no, mate, your spelling was fine. Who was this? This was Game Pancake. Mate, I absolutely love it. Your ideas are amazing. I probably can't implement any of them, or most of them, into my idea, but I love that you shared them in the first place. They are fantastic. Fish feed and grow, basically. That's true. And Tyler Art, thank you. Plankton, yes, plankton. And a pineapple. Yeah, okay. we do need a pineapple somewhere. Just a very simple little subtle Easter egg. We definitely need that. Right then, this video actually went on a ton longer than I intended. It was pretty much first half talking, second half reading. But I think we got, you know, the point of the episode so far. The next episode I'll actually be starting. Alright? The next episode of this little project here is actually beginning this, you know, this playthrough. Or this project. I will not release this video until I have started the next video. So by the time you guys see this video, know that a project has begun. So, as always, give me your ideas. Even if I've already gone ahead and bulk recorded, I still want to hear the ideas. I can always implement them in later. Please guys, not only am I excited to do this, I am happy that I'm finally freaking doing it. I've been wanting to do adventures for a long time now. I'm getting off my butt, I'm doing it, and I want to share it with you guys. If you actually listened for this long, thank you. You're amazing. And I really hope you're excited. I will catch you guys soon. I better stop now. Cheers.